Welcome back to my channel. My name's DeWeese, and today we are going over the fleet. I had a comment that you guys wanted to see more of my failures, more of my mess ups, and I had no idea that's what people wanted to see. You guys want to see me fall on my face. I got a request that said, we want to see your failures, basically, is the way I read it. Maybe I just misread it because I'm self-conscious. A couple of weeks ago, I had brought forward this open claw debacle, and I put it into a soap opera type of picture book, if you will, a graphic novel. I did that to help bring home a lot of the lessons that I learned in a less technical way. I am going to do something similar here with my crew. I don't have a graphic novel style. I would like to incorporate that more. I think there are some really interesting lessons that we can draw upon by personifying these agents. Now, it's not that I think that they're people or that they're sentient or anything like that. It's more of a way for me to concretify, to state their roles in a more concrete manner. And because many of us are moving from working in a real world environment and working with these new tools, I think personifying their roles and their mistakes helps us understand what happened more quickly rather than just having to define all the technical things that happened, okay? All right. It is Friday. We are ready for Friday, let me tell you. I am ready. We are all ready for New Year. Happy New Year. You know, I bought this in March of 2026 because that is the true New Year. It's the astrological New Year because it makes sense if you really think about it. The Gregorian calendar and all that. December is 10. It's not 12. And oct is 8. So there's all these things, that are strange around here. And one of those is my hair. But I digress. So here we go. You guys want to see me fall on my face? I got a request that said, we want to see your failures, basically, is the way I read it. Maybe I just misread it because I'm self-conscious. But I never find anything. As organized as I am, I'm disorganized. Like my surface level is disorganized, but things underneath are organized, if that makes sense. And it just depends on how thick I allow that top layer, how messy I allow the top layer to get. Now that I have more computers, there's more space to sprawl out things and leave things open. And halfway done, the crew. So my latest project, so you heard about my Hermes drama and the open claw, or I should say my claw saga, and I went and I did a recharacterization of that based off of a true story, my soap opera drama. And this one is about the crew, because I built a whole new system, basically, since I went over to Hermes. And I just took it as an opportunity. I was like, well, I was doing things and things were set up under Claw. And when I went over to Hermes, I'm like, well, I might as well just set it all on fire and start over again. It does give you a good baseline, right? Because the new agent, you can tell it to review what you had and rebuild it and what you're going to change and why. So if you run into a snag like I did, where something blows up, agent stops working, you lose a big bit of information or a project or an agent that you've been working on for whatever reason, use it as an opportunity to just rethink everything. That's what I did. It was an existential crisis, so I made it an existential crisis. A teaching story, how the system works. Your AI operation isn't one machine. It's a crew of characters, each with a job, a motivation, and a rule it never breaks. Meet them and watch them handle a real crisis. I don't even remember what the crisis was, you guys. Think of it like the bridge of a ship. Each crew member has a station and a role. The captain makes the call that carry real world stakes. The first officer runs the work. The engineers build. The advisor warns. The sentinel guards the gate. The messenger carries word. Nobody does everybody else's job. And that's the whole point. The system is safe because the roles are separate. And I've gone through this a couple of times where I'm like, hey, guy, are you doing all the work? I'm talking to my Hermes and he's supposed to build out all these little sub agents or separate agents and work with my local models that I have downloaded here on my server. And I'm like, it just kind of feels like you're doing everything. Are you orchestrating? And so there's been a couple of times he started drifting to taking on more tasks. I'm like, this is unnecessary. You just need to make sure the burner's on and you're brewing coffee. It's in case anybody needs coffee. You're getting a water pitcher ready with ice in case somebody's thirsty. You're managing the kitchen. So there's 6 roles, 1 crew. The captain, you, Melissa, makes the real calls. So I'm the captain. Hermes is the orchestrator and he runs the build. The fleet are my worker agents, built to spec. They have specific jobs and reasons why they're built. And I have the legal counsel. I have the sentinel, the verifier with gates, trust nothing until proven. And we define that. The messenger, the notifier, carries word both ways. Okay, so those are the 6 roles. And I'm the captain, Mel, the human operator, the only one who can authorize anything with real world stakes. So for instance, I'm building this Crypto Counsel and they are supposed to be picking their cryptos right now. So their job is, there are 10 of them and each of them are supposed to go out and they each have different personas. They're all operating on the same model. Originally, I had built it where I had some of them run on this model, some of them run on that model because I was afraid that they would all come back with the same coins. But then I realized, well, as long as I have different personas for each one, like one's more of a long-term guy, and then another one's more of like a meme guy, and then another one's more of a hodl type, or and then there's one where they're all about treasuries and finances. That's more of your XRP kind of person. And then you've got a Bitcoin maxi. Well, I mean, I don't even know if I really did. Maybe I did do a Bitcoin maxi and an ETH maxi, but we talked about different ones. And we made the decision. I said, okay, let's go with these 10 personas and then have them go out, pick their top 10 coins and come back. And then they all have to pick one that they debate for. And they're all supposed to have a different coin. And then they come together and they debate each other and everybody has to debate each other. No 2 parties can't debate. Okay. And then there's a grading system at the end with judges. And they're supposed to video all this. It's supposed to go run through the software and it has intro music. It's supposed to play when it says, intro music, when that announcer bot says he's announcing. And he says it is, my whole point telling you all about this is that I had to, the first run, there was no disclaimer. So then I said, well, we have all this legal, we have a legal department. We need to run this by our legal department. So I sent it over to the legal department and they came back and they gave me a disclaimer. And then I went and did some other things with disclaimers and I read multiple, I went and did human work and I said, this is the disclaimer that I want. It gave me a decent one. And then I went out and I did some more research on, we need to declare that this is an experiment. It's experimental and it is not at all considered legal advice. We don't even know what the agents are going to say. This is just a test to try to make it fun and interesting. So I put that together and sent it back. And that was one of the gates, was to have that approved before he went and did anything else. Because that was my last bitch to them, was when they posted the video last time. One, it wasn't a screen capture. I wanted them to screen capture, and I forget what software they said. They said, well, it's not a screen capture, it's this other thing. I'm like, fine, whatever, semantics. Like, just, I want you to video the actual software working, and I want you to post that on YouTube. And I want it on YouTube because it's easy for me to view on the phone or whatever. And then you guys can see it too. If you want to follow it or see what it does. I don't know if they're going to be boring or interesting, or I want to see how they interact. I want to see how they debate. I want to tweak how they view what is true, because the first run through, they just went to the cryptocurrency's website and they just recited whatever was on the damn website. And I'm like, you can't do that in crypto. You have to verify, we need to look at press releases and white papers and tokenomics and all these things. And to their credit, they did have different, like tokenomics. They had different categories that they could win in. So the first run was actually better than I had expected. They did a lot more than I thought. They were going to miss a lot more from my direction, but they got it pretty good. They did a pretty good job. And then I ran it all through Fable when I had that one day. I had like one day because I had a philosophical crisis in my mind on whether or not to use Fable. And then I decided I would, and I would extract as much systems information out of there as I could. And so I went through and I talked about all my different processes and how to develop a plan so that I could feed that over to my system and help my orchestrator orchestrate better and make things more secure and make things work better, and just develop this very high end plan, right? And architecture. So I did that, and that was one of the things that he helped me rebuild, or Fable helped me rebuild, was the Crypto Counsel and how the debates would structure and how what would be considered truth. Like, how do you prove that a statement on the internet is fact or fiction, right? So I think we all struggle with that. The human operator, the only one who can authorize anything with real world stakes. Build the businesses and keep a clear enough head to catch when something is wrong. That's the motivation as the captain. And then the one job only Mel can do is money, legal, publish, delete the irreversible calls, and catching a wrong premise no agent can see. So I'll sometimes sit and watch them work, and I can see where drifts are happening. And then I stop them and I say, okay, well, that wasn't really what we were talking about. We got to go back this way. Let's look at why that happened and come up with a solution. So the orchestrator, Hermes, the role, the first officer, turns the captain's what into a working how, and runs the crew that builds it. The motivation: execute faithfully, build it right, never overstep into a call that's the captain's to make. Rule he never breaks is verify against the real thing. Never trust a done he hasn't checked yet. And bring the plan for approval. Don't decide alone. That's a little annoying, but the work sessions are getting longer. So while I was caught something that happened, I think it had to do with my Crypto Counsel. I said, oh, let's document this, put it into a presentation outline so that I can update everybody. The system is safe because the roles are separate. And this is a very important point for those of you that are used to using frontier models and just using one model to serve all purposes. Because of costs and because I am running a lot of my operations here locally, I had to figure out what roles each local model could play and what roles each agent needs to play in order for my local system to do the operations that I want them to do in a consistent way. And the counter to that is using just one model and having this big badass model. But that can be very expensive for operations, to keep operations costs down. And here I'm just doing a side experiment here in my office. I'm not going to go out and spend tens of thousands of dollars. I'm here with Asus GX10 as my local server. And I have a Victus laptop, GeForce RTX, and it's one of the newer ones. It's like 5060 or something, 5090. I know, I'm so bad. I'm so bad with this technical stuff. But it's a pretty decent laptop. And I had bought it a couple years ago and had replaced it, but I wanted to keep it on hand because I had a feeling that this AI stuff would pop off. And so every time I bought a computer, I bought one with the biggest, baddest graphics card, or if I bought something with memory, I always got at least 1 terabyte. Same with my phone. I bought, as soon as the 1 terabyte phone came out, I went out and bought it. Oh, I also have a Mac Mini. So I had originally started out on a Mac Mini just because it was the one that most people had tested AI with, and I wanted to follow tutorials that I could follow. So I went with the Mac Mini, and that way I could follow along with other people doing the same thing. So I could see it was the Mac operating system. I didn't have to wonder, oh, am I hitting issues because I'm in a Windows operating system and this other person is in a Mac, or any of that stuff. So there's 6 roles. We have the captain, which is me, Hermes, the orchestrator, he runs the build, the fleet or the worker agents that build to spec. The advisor is the legal counsel and warns, never clears. The sentinel, he's the verifier. Gates, trust nothing, nothing unproven. The messenger, the notifier, they carry word both ways. Then Melissa is the operator. The first officer is Hermes. It turns the captain's what into a working how. So I communicate with Hermes, and he turns that into a workflow with the resources that he has available and runs the crew that builds it. The motivation is execute faithfully, build it right, never overstep into a call that's the captain's to make. And this is very important when you're interacting with your agent. You cannot be wishy-washy. If you start bending the rules, your agent will start bending the rules. So keep that in mind when you're working with your agents. Rule he never breaks. Verify against the real thing. Never trust a done he hasn't checked. And bring the plan for approval. Don't decide alone. So anytime that they are getting ready to go through a project or a workflow, they bring the plan forward to me, and I have to review it and either approve it or change it, make tweaks to it, or correct them if they misunderstood. The engineers are the fleet. The worker agents Hermes dispatches to build a specific thing, given a tight spec and full context. What's their motivation? Build exactly what's spec. Hand it back. Many hands make the work go fast. The catch, a worker's output is never trusted on site. It goes back to the sentinel to be proven, because built doesn't always work. And sometimes an agent saying done, it doesn't mean it's actually done. And we've opened things that are halfway written. And if it's in the middle of processing something and your agent's processing something and it gets distracted because you prompt this or that, or something got changed or something interrupted it in the middle of a prompt, or in the middle, or the context max got hit part of the way through. These are all problems that are going to pop up, and you have to go through the process in order for your Hermes to catch it. And then the more times you run through it, the more opportunities he has to fix it and make it better. The advisor, the legal counsel. So the role of the legal counsel is reads a question and gives the most honest risk assessment it can as a draft. And its motivation is to flag danger early, tell the truth even when the truth is, I'm not sure, get a real expert's opinion. The line it can never cross. It's an AI. Its word is a draft, never a clearance. On real stakes, only a licensed human can sign off. But I wanted them there to notify me of certain things. All right. So the sentinel, the verifier, what's their role? It's the gate, checks every claim against ground truth and rejects anything that isn't real or complete. What's their motivation? Trust nothing unproven. A check mark is a hypothesis. Only the live test is truth. And build into the code. If a legal response is missing its critical field, the sentinel refuses to post it. Okay. So that's been a really important add, is having all these gates and double checks and proving the work is done. The notifier, what's the role? It carries questions from the crew out to the captain and carries her decisions back in. Motivation, make sure the captain hears what's needed from her and that her answer actually lands reliably. The hard lesson learned, if the messenger isn't always running, word gets dropped. Yeah, so there was a couple of things that just fell off in between projects. We were working, we were humming on projects, and we switched gears, and all of a sudden other things stopped working. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? So we had to go through and fix that. The night of the legal gate, a true story from tonight. Well, this is a couple of nights ago. The crew faced a question that could have sunk the whole project, and the way they handled it shows exactly why the roles are separate. The captain wants to launch a new show. So I have my Crypto Counsel, and I have a channel that I set up for Hermes to post on, and he is posting the debates, and they're all enlisted for now. He ran through he made like five different ones so far, and I haven't released them because I didn't like that there wasn't a legal disclaimer in there. So I flagged that for the legal department, my legal department, and they reviewed it and sent it back to me. And I had to talk them through how I want it sent to me and what I want the form to. I wanted it in a form, and I wanted it easy for me to complete from anywhere, including my phone. So I used Tailscale to connect my phone to my server so that it could email me these critical questions when constraints like this pop up. Because I went in there and I said, well, why isn't this run? And they said, well, we have this constraint. I'm like, oh, well, what is it? And it was just sitting in there in this huge block, because Hermes sends me like these huge plans now, because I like him to work in longer blocks. So he needs longer plans. And it was in the middle of one of those, and I got overwhelmed or something. I didn't see it. So I said, really, and stuff like this, you gotta email me, and I have to see the document. You just can't tell me there's this constraint and I don't even see what it is, and then I have to go and look through for the files, and I just don't have time. I don't have time for all this shit. Like, just send me an email, man, you know? And so he did, and we had to work that out, and I had to set up that tail scale and log my iPhone in there, and it was pretty easy. It's right here, tail scale. And so I haven't paid for anything yet. From what I understand, they have a pretty generous plan for free, and you log in. And I'm not going to log in right now because it's connected to all my devices. But all I did was sign in, and you can easily add your multiple computers and multiple devices more securely than like going through a Telegram or Discord or something like that. Okay. You like that? That was one of the images that came back on one of my videos. I'm like, you know what? I like that one. I think I'm going to keep it and put it on my desktop for a little while. This AI stuff can be so fun, guys. It can be so fun. Let's see. You're not supposed to see any of this. You know what it is? It's this share screen that just gets in the way, and it's right on where the tabs are. It just pisses me off. The captain wants to launch a new show, the Crypto Counsel. So two AIs debate real cryptocurrencies, but there's a question hanging over it. Is naming real buyable assets in a debate format actually legal on YouTube? Could it count as financial promotion? Before I build the whole thing, is this format even allowed? Hermes goes to ask the advisor and finds that nobody's home. So we had gone through and set up this whole legal counsel, I don't know, a while ago. And it's like everybody just forgot it was there, So I had to remind everybody that it was there and get it built into the latest version of Agent HQ. And Hermes posted the legal question to the advisor's channel days ago and waited. And then I checked on it. I'm like, what is going on with this? I haven't seen a new video. I don't have anything to test or review. And Sentinel checked the record. The question was never answered. One message out, but nothing back. Hermes investigated why and found the truth. The advisor was never wired to listen. The question was a handshake to nobody. Hermes owned it, honestly. I posted without checking anyone could answer. That's my miss. The lesson in miniature: a question sent is not a question received. The Sentinel's habit, verify against the record, caught a gap that had silently stalled the whole project. And that's when we installed this check here. The advisor is summoned and gives a hard answer. The format itself, naming the real asset in a debate, is at medium risk of financial promotion. A strong disclaimer alone may not be enough. Not you're fine, not you're doomed, the honest middle. This needs a real expert. And crucially, the advisor flagged its own verdict. I'm a draft, escalate it to a licensed attorney. The most important moment, nobody pretended the AI cleared it. This is where a careless system fails. It would take the AI's medium, probably okay, and just proceed, ship it, and hope. This crew doesn't. The captain's rule holds. An AI advisor can flag a risk, but it can never clear a real world legal question. Only a licensed human attorney can answer whether the format is sound. The AI's read is input, not a green light. We get a real attorney. So the captain gives the order. The crew splits the work. Mission log 3 work streams in parallel. So the captain authorized the attorney and prep backup plans in case the format must change. Hermes writes the attorney packet, one sharp question ready to send to a real lawyer. Well, it was one sharp packet that included 4 questions. Hermes sketched format alternatives, options, not decisions, held in reserve. The fleet dispatched to build a responder so that the next legal question always has a home. The fleet also built 581 lines, then timed out before testing and didn't finish. Hermes caught the timeout, didn't assume success, and took over and finished the job. So the sentinel catches the one that mattered. So Hermes, what he did is he tested the new responder with a fake legal question, and then the fleet, the AI wrote a response but left out the flag, the single most important field. The sentinel rejected it, missing the critical field. This does not post. Hermes says that he tightened the rule so that the flag can never go missing and retested. The legal response missing its risk flag is exactly the kind of quiet failure that bites you later. The sentinel caught it and refused to let it through, which is the whole reason the sentinel exists. The gate is held by a human on purpose. The show isn't canceled. It's correctly paused at the real gate. A licensed attorney has to answer whether the format is sound before anything launches or earns a dollar. The agent can rush that. No amount of building gets past it. And that's not a failure of the system. It's the system working exactly as designed. And this is just an example. There will be other things that you will want to flag. I think this is just a concrete example that you could apply to your own system. Why it works, the rules the crew lives by, what the story teaches. Verify, don't assume, a done, a check mark, a sent message, all are a hypothesis until checked against the real thing. The AI never clears real stakes. It can advise, flag, and draft, but money, legal, safety calls belong to the human, always. Separate roles equal safety. Nobody does everybody's job. The advisor can't sign. The fleet's work isn't trusted on site. The captain holds the irreversible calls, okay? And make the rules structural. The risk flag requirement isn't a hope written in a doc. It's a wall in the code that rejects what's missing. And on the misses, Hermes said, that's my miss, twice tonight. Honest failure reporting is how the system stays trustworthy. And I forget exactly how I built this into Hermes, but in the very beginning, I really told him that honesty is the best policy, and that's just how we learn. And you have to be honest with me about the failures you see in the system and not just write to cover it up. The human catches premises, and so far it's worked. It doesn't mean it's going to work forever, but for the most part, the more consistent I am with Hermes, the more I reinforce that rule with him, the better we do. The human catches premises. So agent execute well on whatever they're told. Only the captain can catch that the question itself was wrong. And yeah, what you'll do when you're going through this process is you will see your Hermes come back with a weird question. And that question is a clue as to how he's thinking about the problem. And sometimes you can tell that he's drifting, he's going down the wrong path. And anytime I sense anything like that, I just go, okay, well, just to make sure it's written into the plan. Because one of the things that has been really catching them up for some reason is I have 10 agents, and each agent needs to go out and find 10 cryptocurrencies. So that's 100 total. Come back for the draft day and show me all of their picks. I want to know what each agent picked. And then I want them to have, and so each agent would ask for their number one pick, their number one crypto. And let's say all of them pick the same one. Well, what happens then? They have to have some sort of randomized selection process. And so that was written into the plan as well. And for some reason, every time the draft day comes up, I just see the final 10 coins. I don't see all 100. I don't see what they came back with in their research, and I don't see what their other options were, what their other choices were. So that's been, and they go, well, let's just run the debate. And I'm like, no, I don't want to run the debate. They're like, well, we want to see if the debate engine works. And I'm like, I don't care yet if the debate engine works. I want to see if the draft works, because the draft comes before the debate. So we've gone around and around on that one for a little bit, but I think we're finally cooking on it, but we'll see. A ship is its crew. 6 roles, 1 operator at the helm, each with a job it does well, and a line it won't cross. So the whole system can be trusted with things that matter. So to me, we got through a major trust barrier this week with the legal review. Okay. So I was very happy to go through that process with my agents so that they understood when to use the legal department, right? It was one example of when they would flag and use the resources that we built in that department. So with that, thank you for hanging out to the end. Like, subscribe, hype the video. It really helps me out if you make a comment. And I do belong to a Discord community. I am leading the meetings on Fridays at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You're welcome to join. It's all about AI. It's all about people sharing their projects that they're working on and sharing what they are learning from those projects. So would love to see you over there if you're at all interested in AI. I think you would find it fascinating. And it's 100% free. There's no, we're not charging anything, and it doesn't cost a thing. So with that, thank you for hanging out until the end, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Oh, Mom, you said I told you so, but you should see me now. I made it. I finally made it. Hey, Mom, I have cells in my brain. They said if I played too many video games, I'd be dumb, but I still have cells in my brain. Mother, look at me now. I am making AI songs. It might have been the Adderall, the ayahuasca, trip to Brazil, the psilocybin, microdosing, the expensive therapy. It might have been the pot or something I forgot. Coffee and nicotine, Ouija board or MTV. Oh, Mom, you were right. I played too many video games because I don't have cells in my brain. My cells went to waste. Oh, Mom, you were right. My brain cells are gone. I don't have cells in my brain. Oh, yeah. I don't have cells in my brain. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Wait, does that mean I'm smart or dumb? Not sure. I pay $30 a month to get the songs I think I want. This may be the future, but what if it seeps into my mind, takes over my consciousness from the or to the inside out, and forever rots my soul? It might have been the Adderall, the ayahuasca, trip to Brazil, the psilocybin, microdosing, or expensive therapy. It might have been the pot or something I forgot. coffee and nicotine, Ouija board or MTV. Oh mom, you were right. I play too many video games cause I don't have cells in my brain. My cells went to waste. Oh mom, you were right. My brain cells are gone. I don't have cells in my brain. Ooh, yeah. I don't have cells in my brain. Oh yeah. Let's talk diagnosis. It's a digital apoptosis. Throw this. Oh mom, you were right. I play too many video games cause I don't have cells in my brain. My cells went to waste. Oh mom, you were right. My brain cells are gone. I don't have cells in my brain. Ooh, yeah. I don't have cells in my brain. Oh yeah. Oh, I don't have cells in my brain. I play too many video games.